Hello and welcome to Scout Report, where today we're looking at Jose Mourinho's Tottenham, who have established themselves as top 4 favourites in the early running. But after a mediocre 2019-20 and a drab opening day loss to Everton, just what are the Lily Whites doing right? We've tried to find out. Harry Kane on the mend. For all their problems last season, and the fair questions about Jose Mourinho's tactics and man management, Spurs have put together one of the strongest squads in the Premier League. And Daniel Levy addressed almost all the side's problem areas in the summer, with a backup striker, a new DM, new fullbacks, and even the return of Gareth Bale as the cherry on top. The only thing missing was an experienced centre-back, with the team pursuing younger targets due to financial constraints. But despite all this good work, there will be 2 players who determine the course of Tottenham's campaign, Heung-Min and Harry Kane. And the Englishman, after 2 years of injury issues, looks to have benefited from the extended COVID-19 layoff. In 2017-18, Kane scored 30 league goals, but has failed to break the 20 mark in either of the last 2 seasons, and everything was trending in the wrong direction. Having taken 5.3 shots a game that year, he took 3.8 in 18-19 and 2.8 in 19-20, while expected goals per 90 tumbled from a world-class 0.76 a game to just 0.37 last season. And when your system is built around the assumption that you have an elite striker, you're going to be in trouble if he suddenly becomes merely good. To be honest, part of the drop was Kane's fault. The forward hates sitting on the sidelines more than most players, and has made a habit of pushing to come back from injury faster than he perhaps should. That hasn't been helped by Mourinho, who comes from the play through the pain school of management, saying back in September, Harry Kane's an experienced player, and he knows his body better than any of the sports science guys or any medical guy, and if he's ready to play, it's possible. To be clear, that wasn't before a crucial Premier League clash, but prior to a cup game against Leyton Orient. However, Kane is, if not back to his best, getting close. So far in 2020-21, the 27-year-old is taking 4.8 shots a game and getting more on target than at any point in his career, as a result hitting an insane 0.97 xG per 90 after 4 game weeks, his best mark ever. As a consequence, he's already scored 3, but strangely, this isn't even his most impressive output at the time of writing. Instead, after years of fans claiming he was a brilliant playmaker from the number 10 space, largely without much evidence, Kane seems to have decided that this year he'll play like Thomas Müller, dropping deep to provide for the outstanding Heung-Min. At present, Kane is sitting on 6 assists and is creating 2.8 chances each game, 6th in the division among players who have played at least 3 matches, and has amassed a ridiculous 0.72 expected assists per 90 minutes, better than Kevin De Bruyne's 0.66 from last campaign. Of course, that's unlikely to last, unless Mourinho has finally succumbed to the temptation to get out the Ouija board and summon up the spirit of Johan Cruyff to improve his side. But Kane already has 9 goal involvements in the first month of the season, nearly half his entire output of 20 goal involvements last term. And with Bale and Carlos Vinicius available to cover for him, he can finally save his best for the race for the top 4. Actual fullbacks. It's often said that fullback is the most important role in the modern game, so perhaps it's no surprise that Tottenham underperformed last year, given that they didn't have any. Sergio Reguilon was the only specialist in the position to get more than 1,500 league minutes, with Ben Davies sidelined for much of the year, Danny Rose out on loan, and Ryan Sessegnon yet to earn Mourinho's trust. And as a consequence, the special one had to pull some special manoeuvres, deploying Vertonghen and Japhet Tanganga on the flanks instead. So the double capture of Matt Doherty and Sergio Reguilon was both excellent and necessary business over the summer, with Daniel Levy securing the pair for a bargain outlay of just £42 million, roughly the same as Man City spent on Bournemouth's relegated centre-back Nathan Ake. Unusually for Mourinho, both are attack-minded players, and in general, the Portuguese has preferred to use one fullback in an aggressive role, bursting up the wing and even getting into the box, while the other shifts across and forms a back 3. Like in his 2014-15 title-winning Chelsea team, which used Azpilicueta in a reserved role on the left and pushed Ivanovic up as an extra attacker. So we may see Doherty paired with Davis and Reguilon paired with Aurier at times, as neither of the new boys broke 3 tackles and interceptions per 90 last season, while Aurier in particular was enthusiastic in the challenge, winning possession back for his side over 4 times a game, top of the Spurs squad. But if Jose can find a way to field his new acquisitions together, against weaker sides for example, his team may have a much higher ceiling. Davis and Aurier are reliable enough, but neither is especially incisive on the ball, combining for 11 progressive passes per game in 2019-20. Doherty and Reguilon meanwhile managed close to 13 put together, and when possession reached the attacking third, the difference was even more obvious. The Irishman and the Spaniard were used to joining the front line at their respective sides, as well as looking for crosses and pullbacks, and as a consequence took or created a combined 4.3 shots a game last year. For Davies and Aurier, that figure was just 2.5. So far, Mourinho has shown a willingness to attack more, with Spurs racking up 9.6 xG in the first 4 games, though the 6-1 win over Man United makes that figure a little unreliable, and probably overrates the team's offensive power. However, there's clearly been a big improvement, as in 2019-20, the Lily-Whites only put together 49 expected goals across the entire season, while their current numbers in 2021 would put them on 91 across 38 games. To keep pace with the league's other elite teams, Mourinho should keep faith with his chairman's transfer business and get Doherty and Reguilon on the field as much as possible. Forging a new style, or an old one. After half a decade of Pochettino, it was always going to take some time to lay down a new blueprint for Tottenham, but in some senses, the North Londoners already look like a classic Mourinho team. The Portuguese may have a more glamorous CV than Tony Pulis, but he shares the Welshman's taste in team building, generally favouring physical dominance over pure technical ability. Last year, the Tottenham squad was among the most imposing in the English game, ranking as the 4th tallest team in the Premier League, and just 8 of their 25 first-team regulars are under 6 feet tall, with 6 of the 8 signings made since Mourinho joined the club above that height as well. The 57-year-old also inherited a squad with a taste for conflict, despite his complaints in the Amazon documentary that his team was full of nice boys. At present, Spurs are committing more fouls than any side in the league, ending counters early and muddying up midfield with the sort of gamesmanship and cynicism Mourinho was known for at Chelsea. But more surprisingly, Mourinho's Spurs are currently a more aggressive pressing team than they were under Poch, at least in the Argentinian's later seasons. This chart from StatsBomb shows how the Lily-Whites were once one of the most difficult sides to play in the Premier League, pushing up the pitch to contest the area between opposition centre-backs and midfielders, and essentially stopping their opponent's build-up play before it even got going. However, in 18-19, the season Spurs reached the Champions League final, the press was starting to falter, and the change was abrupt last campaign, with Tottenham adopting the sort of pattern we tend to see in weaker sides, allowing the opposition to move up the field with the level of resistance increasing as it approached the danger zone. But oddly, Mourinho is going back to the Poch plan. So far this season, the team is pressing the same amount as in previous years, closing down opponents between 155 and 163 times a game over the last 2 full seasons and the beginning of this one, but the location of those pressures has changed. In 18-19, just 23% of Tottenham pressing happened in the final third, with the team more focused on hassling opponents in midfield. That fell to just 19% in 2019-20, perhaps unsurprisingly given the major injuries to the front line and the transition between coaches. But in 2021, though it's very early days and perhaps skewed by the 6-1 battering of United, Tottenham are making 30% of their pressures in the final third. This is almost a German style, with the Lily-Whites altering their focus from pressing to prevent teams attacking them to gegenpressing as a way of producing chances. 11 Premier League teams close down opponents in the defensive third more than Tottenham, but only 2 teams press more in the middle, and just Liverpool make more interventions in the final third. This looks like a smart adjustment to the talent at White Hart Lane. While Ali, Ndombele and Lo Celso are capable of creating in possession, they're arguably better in the transition, where they can quickly win the ball and spring fast attacks. And with that size we mentioned earlier, the entire team is capable of outmuscling, bulldozing and bursting past their opposite numbers, as well as possessing the technical quality to play through other pressing sides and break down sturdy defences. Mourinho, of course, is always capable of turning a good thing into a spectacular mess, and his reign in North London has barely gone a month without the veteran coach feuding with one of his players. But with perhaps their strongest ever squad, a clear plan in place, and their star players back to their best, it might just be possible for the special one to accomplish something very special indeed. So that was our scout report on Mourinho's changes at Tottenham, but how do you think they'll do this season? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell to never miss a video. We'll see you next time.